Welcome everyone. Now the second important thing after having learned data types and data structures in Python, it is important to understand the concept of modules and packages. Now before I get into modules and packages, let's just quickly go through print and input. Print function we have already used. So here I declare a variable b equal to hello world and then I say print, it displays the value. So this is, we already seen the print syntax, so nothing new. However, what is more important is to now understand input. While we are running some code, in between we require a user input. Then we have an input function. If I run this input function, note a text box has appeared and this star mark is there. Star mark indicates this code which we have executed is not yet completed. So long as the star is there, that code is in execution mode. If you leave this syntax somewhere here and move to the next cell and press enter, and then you keep pressing enter, what will happen? All the syntaxes will be in star mode only. What it indicates is this syntax has not completed the execution. It is still waiting. And why it was waiting? It was waiting for some input. I have not given any input and just moved ahead. I need to give some input, or even it would be empty. At least I have to go in the text box and move forward. For now, I'll just say 10. Enter. The moment I gave 10, it got executed. Now here, this is also an input function only with some informative text. So here it is saying enter a number. I can enter a number or text, it will not make a difference. I again say 10. That input got captured in the variable num and that num got displayed. So the point is, you can take user inputs while you are working dynamically in Jupyter Notebook using an input function. If you are taking an input, ensure you give the input value. If you don't give the input value and just move ahead, all subsequent syntaxes will not get executed and you will see star mark because somewhere the code was waiting for completion. Moreover, what you have to note, whatever value you give will be taken as text. I passed the value which was 10. It was a number. However, when you see the display of this num, it is enclosed between single quote, and the single quote indicates it is a text. There is a eval function which converts numeric data captured as text into number. So here we have this eval function. So this is just a quick intro to input, how we can take user defined input. Now we move on to the main point, main concept that we have to cover today, that is modules and packages. Everything in Python is actually stored as modules and packages. What is the concept of this module? Any Python file, any .py file you create is actually a module. And if you organize these Python file in a structured way, you get something called as package. An organized group of modules in a folder structure is called package. To understand the concept of this package, you have to first understand the way we work in companies. You have a bigger deliverable for your client. That big deliverable you break into smaller modules. those modules are done by your team members. So those team members, for example, some may be given a task of importing data. Someone might have been given a task of creating reports. Someone might have been given a task of doing variable creation, transformations, and so forth. Each person is working on his or her part of the code. They are all creating separate Python files. Everyone is not working on one file, one .py file. So each of those py files which are getting created is a module. Functionality written by one person in one Python file can be used by another person in his or her code by importing that Python file. Now, how we import a Python file, a module, is using a import syntax. So here there are many inbuilt modules. Similar to inbuilt modules, we can in our projects create user defined modules. At this point of time, we are going to focus more on how to make use of inbuilt modules. So let us focus on using inbuilt modules. OS. OS is a operating system module, or you can say package. OS is a operating system package. How I can use that? Simply say import OS. Where is this OS located? This is part of your default standard installation of Python. So it will be in the Python path in the library folder. It will be present there. And that library path is by default set in your class path. As such, the moment you run import OS, automatically this module will be available to you, and then the functionalities in this OS module will all be available. So what we can do is we'll just comment this syntax OS dot. First we'll just do OS, import OS. I have imported. Now, what all functionalities of this OS module is available? I can find out OS dot tab. I pressed the tab button. Okay, auto intelligence help has not popped up. Okay, now it has come up. It is saying it's a module. OS routines for NT and POSIX. The documentation of OS module is all visible. So what I did is I simply did OS dot tab or OS dot shift tab. The documentation prompt comes up, and then here there are many parameters and functions which I can use. It is showing here. So here let me now just do OS dot m tab. It should autofill. It is not. For some reason it is working too slow. Okay, sometimes it does not work. OS dot mkdir. Mkdir is a function which is available in OS module, and that function can create a directory. So what I'm saying is make directory d colon backslash. If you're using a backslash, use two backslash or use forward slash. Let's use forward slash, and it should be enclosed in this. What will it do? It will create a folder. Where it will create? In my D drive. Okay, so control enter. It creates a folder. If I say get cwd, it will give what is my current working directory. The folder from where I launched Jupyter Notebook is what it is going to display. Control Enter. This is the folder from where I typically launch my Jupyter notebook. Many of you would have simply from your C drive prompt, you would have called the syntax Jupyter notebook. So it will just show C colon backslash. I want to change my working directory. I can use chdir. Now if I see what is the current working directory, it will say temp dir. I don't want this directory which I just created. What I can do is remove dir. Okay, it is saying permission error. Why? Because I am currently having this as my working directory. So what I'll do is change my working directory. And now I'll say remove the directory. It is deleted. So there are two things which we have done. One is how to import a module, and we used OS module and quickly saw how to make a directory, how to get current working directory, change directory. After changing the directory, again we see the current working directory, change directory and remove directory. So just quickly try these syntaxes, a few of them, if not all. This is one way of importing a module. We'll now see variants of importing a module. Okay, we are now going to see how we can import the packages in various forms. Here, this syntax, no, I'm not looking for this. Import. I'm looking for, yeah, this one. How we can import a module. There are various ways. We simply saw import OS. OS is a module, operating system, how to go about playing around with that operating system, OS dot, and like this. There are four main syntaxes of importing and using a module. The first one is very basic. Import the module name. The moment you say import module name, all the functionalities and variables declared in that will be available to you. The other way is I specify the module. From this module, I want only a specific functionality. See what happens when you call a module, the entire module gets loaded in memory and everything in that module is available to you. However, at times you don't want the entire module to be loaded. You want only a specific function of that module to be accessible. For example, square root. Square root is a very common function which we use, and specifically in Excel, you simply say equal to sqrt, you get the square root. And in many of the tools, you will be able to get these functions directly. However, if I run square root of 25, I'll get an error. Reason being, square root function is not available in the base packages of Python, which gets loaded automatically. Square root function is present in a module named math. Now here I can run a syntax import math, and then I can say math dot. So what I'll do is I'll run this import math. Now all the functions which are available in this math module will be available. If I want to see what all functions are available, for some reason in my laptop the tab is not okay. Now this time it is given the output very fast. Import math dot. it is now giving me a listing of all the functions which is available in this math module, and square root is one of them. So if I now really want to use square root, I'll have to use it math dot square root. So here you can see any function which is present, you have to prefix the function by the module name. Now, why it is important to prefix the module name? Please understand, I can create my own user defined module. I can create my own user defined module, and creating own user defined module is not a big deal. Why? Any .py Python file you create is actually a module. In the video which is shared with you, there would be a section where how to create module, addition.py, all of those steps, how to create our own Python file and how to load that Python file is all explained. Loading a Python file as a module is simple. Import, and whatever is the Python file name you gave, you have to write that and the module is loaded. So that's not a big deal. Any Python file you create is a module. Please understand that. So if I create my own Python file, say addition.py, let's say addition.py is a Python file you created, and in that addition.py you have function say sum, and that sum function is present in say math also. Now if you use the sum function, whether the sum function should be of addition or math, the interpreter will be confused, because there are two modules having the same function. To avoid this conflict, it is important you prefix the module name. And by prefixing the module name, it also becomes easy for the interpreter to know where it has to go and find the square root function. So this is how you use the functions which are present in a module. But the other way out is, just imagine this function would have been named as square root, and you have to use this, and math module is named as mathematics. Now each time you have to use square root, you have to say mathematics dot square root, mathematics dot square root. It would become too longish. So there are alternative way of using it. The alternative way of writing the syntax is, you can specifically say from math import square root. The moment you say from math import square root, you can now use square root without giving the module name prefix. And if you want to further simplify this and abbreviate the square root, you can say from math import a square root as an alias. This alias I've given as s. So if I run the syntax and now I say s of 25, this s is actually now square root. I get the answer 5. So what I've said, from the module name import the function and alias to the function s. So this is how we import modules. This is how we import specific function from a module and also give an alias. The other way you could have simply written this like this also. It's okay. From math, import square root and go ahead and use square root without giving alias. Some syntax you will often find whenever working with Python, and that is import pandas as PD. This is common syntax. Import numpy as np. Import cborn as sns. There are certain syntaxes where you have a package and you give a alias to that package. There's a module, you give a alias to that module. So here there is a pandas module and I'm giving it alias PD. So similarly I can say math as m. Now if I say import math as m, shift enter, I can now start using all functionality available in math module by just saying m dot. So if I just remove this and tab here, you see once again all the functions have been visible. M dot. So here I can say square root and now say 25, control enter. It works the same. In short, you can import modules and functions in 4 different ways. Import the module name. From module name, import the function name. From module, import function as alias name. Import module as alias. These are the 4 ways of importing which are commonly used while working with modules in Python. With this, we end today's session. Thank you. See you in tomorrow's session. Thank you. End of day 2 session. Thank you.